Yo, what's happening? It's the guys. It's your guy Dre, and we got the guy Sean. What's happening, Sean?
What it do, homie? What it do?
Nothing much, man. Tonight we get into a band that I'm gonna really appreciate. We
Yeah.
going, we going to the bottom. We going to the swamp.
What?
Swamp nigga, swamp nigga, we going to the NO, man.
Yeah, no. Don't
What
forget
you
that Rouge.
yeah. We gonna talk a little bit about Baton Rouge
We
because
are.
always gotta represent for Boosie Badass, BOOSIE. You know what I'm saying? So we gonna talk about New Orleans contributions to hip hop today,
Yes,
man.
yes, sir.
Um, First off, what's your introduction to New Orleans rap specifically?
Man, it's funny because my introduction comes in two different phases, really three different phases of New Orleans rap, man. Um, the first phase was when they first came out, when I knew nothing about like the New Orleans culture, the rappers down there, what they were about. I knew nothing about it. This is like probably 95, 96 when Master P first started doing his thing. Because when I was coming through, I did not know that Master P was from New Orleans. I thought he was from the West Coast because all
Yeah,
of his mixtapes had like, remember he had the West Coast,
the West Coast Bad Boys and shit
uh,
like that.
I
Yeah.
never knew that he was from New Orleans. So that was the first introduction. My homeboys used to rock this shit like crazy. They used to listen to True, Silk, C Murder. They used to kill it. I mean, and then when Bout It movie came out, that's when I realized they were from New Orleans because that movie was shot in the wards down there in New Orleans. And I first saw it when I was in Georgia with my cousin. So that's when I knew a little bit more about New Orleans music. And then the second wave was when I was stationed in Japan, and one of my homeboys, he was from New Orleans, and he introduced me to like the real New Orleans music, the bounce music, like some of the underground artists that were down there. That was my second time, and then my third time was when I actually lived in Louisiana, about 40 minutes from New Orleans, rather. And that was my third introduction to really get engulfed in the New Orleans culture, and also New Orleans rappers. So I had like three different phases of being introduced to New Orleans rap.
All right, cool. So did you ever get into bounce music? You don't look like you got into no
Nah,
bounce music.
nah, not at all. I appreciate it now, but then I was like, yo, what is this? Because you got to keep in mind, when Master P came out, Master P didn't have no bounce music.
He
You
did though. It
what?
was just it wasn't his bounce music wasn't New Orleans core and it wasn't as bouncy as Cash Money. I think Cash Money incorporated a little bit more bounce in
Right.
their stuff, but when you talk about like bounce that ass, all you hoes, bounce that. If you listen, you
Yeah.
can hear the Trigger Man in the back, and that was the basis of New Orleans bounce is the Trigger Man. So fun fact, it's Trigger Man because there was the song Trigger Man or
Hmm.
whatever that really put New Orleans on the map and everything. And so when the Showboys did that, a lot of people took that
Yep.
and that's how they came up with, hey, we're gonna put some Trigger Man behind that shit,
Right.
which Manny Fresh always had
Yep.
in damn near every Cash Money beat. You can hear that
Yep.
or whatever going. So P had some bounce music. It just wasn't the core of New
Right.
Orleans bounce music.
It wasn't the authentic bounce music, if you will. Because I talked to some of my homies from New Orleans, and I asked them, yo, how you guys feel about Cash Money versus No Limit? And a lot of people from New Orleans thought that Master P was corny. They didn't fuck with Master P in the beginning. They weren't really on P. They thought P was a weirdo. You know what I mean? Because
Mm-hmm.
P sound during that time, he was rapping about the hood. He was rapping about the war. He was rapping about I got to get out of here. You know what I mean? I got to make it. And he was more so adopting. He had his own thing for New Orleans, the wards. And during that time, you got to realize in the 80s and the early 90s, New Orleans was really about, dance music, happy music, bounce music, everybody having a good time, everybody dancing, everybody, just that Jubilee style, right? From DJ Jubilee, of course. So that chanting and like you said, Trigger Man, all of that.
Bounce to the
That
bro with
right, right.
it.
And they get on, and they had what they call this. Is it the second line or third something?
Yeah, second
Second
line.
which I actually happened to see firsthand when I was down there. I was actually driving down there, getting ready for an investigation. I was living down that area, and they had one going. You can kind of see the bounce and everything. So P wasn't really representing that side of New Orleans. So a lot of the locals, from what I was told from several people who love hip hop and from New Orleans, they weren't gravitating to P early. They didn't gravitate into P until we got P. You know what I'm saying? Like until we started appreciating P. I said not me, but others outside New Orleans at that time. When he Make It Say came out, when he became more global or became more outside of Louisiana, that's when they started accepting him more.
I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that P. I think me and you talked about this. I don't know if it was on air or earlier or what, but the fact that P one, he came out with stuff like West Coast Bad Boys and stuff like that. He didn't really have any New Orleans artists. He had his brother rapping, and both his brothers. He had Silk and C rapping, but it was when he was able to go and pull New Orleans into the fold. I think that's probably when they was like, all right, he fuck with us. You know what I'm saying? It ain't all about, I got to get out. I need to make a change or whatever the case may be. New Orleans has no one to thank for what they got going on but Master P. You can't think, baby. I would say give the Showboys some love just because they gave them their own distinct sound with the bounce music.
Right.
But everything that's credited for New Orleans, it starts and ends with Master P. I do think the one great thing about New Orleans music is it doesn't matter whether it's hip hop, blues, soul, R&B, no matter what it is, it always has a live instrument connotation to it. You know what I'm saying? Even if you listen to Manny's beats, Manny still always brought some type of live instruments into his productions or whatever. And to me, I think that is what's so dope about them. It was kind of like, because if you go back in the day, when you heard an Isaac Hayes CD or album or LP or 8-track, whatever it was back then, you didn't hear anything on the computer. All you heard was different types of percussions and different types of horns and, different types of keys blended together. And you could tell, and you could always tell the difference. And so, with the second line, like you talked about earlier, that just brings it all the way out. And it's a, man, listen, I done seen the second line too. I was in New Orleans a couple times. It's lovely.
It is. It's crazy. I mean, and that's, again, back then, like 18-year-old, 17-year-old Sean could not appreciate that music then. You know what I mean? Like even when I was around dudes who were from New Orleans who was playing mixtapes that I've never heard for my life, and just like in 2000, you know what I mean? I couldn't appreciate it then because we used to go to the club and they would give the DJ, because on every military installation, the DJ 9 times out of 10 is a dependent, you know what I mean? Or maybe a soldier or Marine, right? So you go to them and say, yo, play this tonight. And they would go to the DJ and give the CD, like, yo, play this tonight. And the DJ will play some joints that none of us ever heard before because they don't play outside of New Orleans. But we in Japan, and they play this music, man, for like an hour straight. And you see dudes on the dance floor. Again, I'm 20 years old at this time, right? This is 2000. I see dudes on the dance floor dancing like girls. And I'm like, yo, what is this? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I would say that is true, man. That's just something that I couldn't rock with. But they do, like, they be pop locking or whatever you want to call it. But that's their shit. I ain't gonna hate on it. That's their shit. Because the crazy shit is, it be the gangsters. It's the niggas that really done came in and told it a 9 and ready to go upside your head. But when they hear that bounce for the Jubilee Road, they got their hands on their knees like, nah, man, that's not it. But hey, do you?
Right. I'm sitting there, again, I'm 20-year-old. I got the baggy jeans, the Timbos dragging the floor. And I mean, probably wearing some FUBU at this time. And then they got your bows and white t-shirts on. In the military club on the base, we couldn't wear like white shirts like that. You know what I mean? So they used to wear the long white t-shirts under a collared shirt. And they take the collared shirts off and they doing their thing and bouncing and pop locking on the floor. I'm on the sideline like, yo, this is weird. Like, men are supposed to dance with each other like this. But that's part of their culture. That's really part of their culture. And I didn't appreciate it until later on. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, man. Listen, New Orleans hip hop had more of influence on me in those days than Atlanta hip hop.
Mm,
and
mm.
and I'm talking more than Drake. Like you couldn't tell me BG wasn't the greatest thing ever. I would always listen to Mac. Mac was my favorite No Limit Soldier. I always had some bows, rees, and a white tee. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So when they say you come catch me Jabot down, niggas wearing Nikes instead. I mean niggas wearing Reeboks instead of Nikes and Timberlands.
Right.
Like nah, bruh. Juvie them said we don't rock Timbs. I ain't rocking with that shit, man.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So that's
Right.
how it was for me, man.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, because they had their own style, man. Like you got to keep in mind, like New Orleans was like back then, like again, being ignorant to not, traveling, traveling that part of the world yet. New Orleans like a whole different world to us. You know what I mean? Because you got to think about it. During that time, you had New York hip hop, you had the West Coast, you had Georgia that was popping. New Orleans was like a third coast to us because Houston was all
Hmm.
in the backdrop. But then you have these guys who were talking about what they do down there, and it was so isolated because remember, Jay, at one point we didn't hear anything. We didn't hear anything about DJ Jubilee when we were coming up in our era of hip hop. We didn't hear about that stuff until we had to go back and research. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
that's what I was gonna say too. That's another reason the credit goes to P, because when P came out, and then like I said, bounced that ass. Like even on
Yeah,
the end of fucking about it, where he called it the ice cream party, where he had the strippers and shit. He
yeah,
talked about this what we do in New Orleans, bounce music, and and I think that was when people was like, all right, what's this bounce music or whatever, you know what I'm saying?
right,
So
right. Even with the word twerk, I was telling my Wiz today, like they even came up with twerking. You know what I mean?
yeah, twerking, that's old, like
Right, but that's what I'm saying. They came up with twerking in New Orleans. You know what I mean? So, the younger people, they're still saying twerk, like twerk. They were saying that shit back then by
yeah,
accident because the way they talk, because the way they, the way they connect
yeah,
with each other. They're like, oh, put a T on that work. So you twerking it. You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
So that was their thing back then. And you have to appreciate what P set up, but you also have to for me, I have to over appreciate what Manny Fresh also brought. Because for the longest, I'm saying Manny Fresh is corny for the longest. You know what I mean? Even when I was in New Orleans, I was a lot for my job at that time, my position at the time, I had to fly a lot. So I would fly to New Orleans almost every other week. Sometimes I would fly every week somewhere. So I ended up running into Manny Fresh in the airport. I mean, on my same flight, and we was like right across from each other. And I was texting my homeboy like, "Yo, I see Manny Fresh on this plane. This nigga is corny." Like, you know what I mean? He's like, "Yo, that's Manny Fresh." You talking to him like, I ain't talking to this clown ass nigga. You know what I mean? I text my Wiz. I was like, "Yo, I'm on a plane with Manny Fresh," and she just as worse to me. She said, "Okay." But again, a couple of years later, we like, "Yo, Manny's kind of dope." You know what I'm saying? Manny's a dope producer.
Manny is very dope. I think so. Or since we're talking about producing, I think the problem with it was that they were specifically in-house producers. That goes for Manny on Cash Money side, and that goes for Beats by the Pound
Um,
on the No Limit side. So when
yeah,
you had Craig B, you had Odell, you had Boz is not really a producer, but he did a little producing into the songs or whatever.
yeah.
You had KLC, who was the ringleader for
See,
Beats
yep,
by the Pound. But the problem was those guys, they wasn't allowed to work outside of Cash Money and No Limit.
right,
So
right,
that is what hurt them production wise in my
right,
mind, because it kept them in that same mode. Like, this is our winning formula. We
right.
got these artists. We're going to win with these artists. That was the problem. If you look at the verses, that's why I was like, he has to get out of his Cash Money bag. But he was deep in his Cash Money bag because that's just who he was. That's what he loved. He loved the Trigger Man. You know what I'm saying? Nobody in Atlanta can rap to a Trigger Man beat. You
No,
know what I'm saying?
no, not at all. Because it's his own thing. You know what I mean? And that's where you have to be able to appreciate the diversity in hip hop. When a region like that can stick to who they are and don't give a fuck about anyone else feeling that a different way about it. You know what I mean? And that was Manny Fresh, that was Cash Money, that was No Limit, that was every artist, every bounce music artist down there. They were true to who they were. They didn't care about really blowing up like that. Wayne, to me, is the only artist out of that entire camp that strayed away from the roots of New Orleans hip hop. You know what I mean? Because Wayne blew up after he adopted an entirely different sound, an entirely different flow, an entirely different wave. You know, Wayne kind of created some of the way that we're experiencing right now. You know, because he had to step outside of New Orleans, and I respect him for that. But do you think because of that, does that, I don't want to say tarnish his legacy, but do you think that was the right move for him? Because Wobbly Wobbly Wayne and this lyrical Wayne that we have seen, two totally different animals. So do you think?
Yeah. So I guess that's the, you calling it, that's the gift and the curse. I'm not a fan of the lyrical Wayne.
Yeah.
Because you got to think about where I was at. Me and Wayne, same age. So when he was rocking, I was rocking. You know what I'm saying? Like I said earlier, I got the Bows, the Reeds, the white tee, the soldier rag. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, what's up, Woody? You know what I'm saying? Huh? You know what I'm saying? Like all that. So that was really ingrained in us. So to hear him go on that different level, like it was good for him business wise, because obviously he got more. He was able to get more clout in the game, and he was able to get more loot or whatever the case may be. But if you're the type that you want the respect of your city, it wasn't the right move. When you talk about New Orleans rappers, I don't think that no one gets more love than Soulja Slim. And then after Soulja Slim, I would say BG. Now, when we're talking about New Orleans rappers, though, Soulja Slim to me was not. I don't think he was even top 5 on No Limit. But there's a lot of people that are beg to differ, and it's not about how they were saying things. It was just, truthfully, it was just about what they were saying. It was about what they had to say within their lyrics or whatever.
Right.
But so you talk about Soulja Slim, you talk about BG, you talk about Mac, you talk about Cain and Abel. You know what I'm saying? Mr. Magic, he came a little bit like, oh, damn, look at that, right on cue. Mr. Magic came a little bit later, but you talk about Mr. Magic, he was that guy. You know what I'm saying? So when it came to New Orleans rap, those were the guys that was really holding it down. Then we're not going to forget the biggest Mama Mia, the greatest female rapper of all time. But that's neither here nor there. We ain't going to talk about that. But like when they did things, it really was for the city. Like there's a video, I haven't been able to find it in a while. There's a video where Jeezy had a concert at the Smoothie King Arena. That if you don't know, if you've never been to New Orleans, that's right next to the Superdome. George Benson owns both of them.
Yep.
And he brought out BG. Listen, man, like when I tell you, like, that is some nostalgia shit for me, and like get it cracking, like I'm gonna be amped. I'm gonna be amped looking at that video, because when BG came out, that crowd goes bananas. Like they paid to see Jeezy. They didn't even know BG was. And then when he come out, they're rapping every single word. You know what I'm saying? And then they kind of do the little bounce thing like they do in Memphis. What they call it, get buck, or they call it the gangster walk. They started doing that shit. And then, it's kind of moving to like a chant and stuff when he dropped the dang on tone and he just let them go, man. Listen, BG gets so much love. Soulja Slim gets so much love. And I just don't think for his city, Wayne will ever see the love that those guys get.
Yeah, because I think it goes back to the fact that Wayne, in their minds, and again, I know a lot of people from New Orleans, just my travels and everything, befriending people during that time and living down there as well for a couple of years. They feel like Wayne, they still love Wayne, they still represent Wayne. He showed love, he still showed love to them as well. But they feel that Wayne kind of left them as well. Like he's not true to what BG is true to. You know what I mean? Like BG, Juvie, Soulja Slim, guys like that, they'll be loved because they never really switched it up on them. Wayne did like a total flip on them. And not in a bad way. He didn't shit on them. Wayne transitioned so heavily. Like for me, my best Wayne album, which was I think the only one I bought, was the Carter 3. A lot of diehard Wayne fans, a lot of diehard Hot Boy fans, Cash Money fans don't like that album. To me, best album. And you know
I
why?
hate it.
If you listen to that album does not sound like a New Orleans or even a Southern album. That album sound more of a it's a cross between a New York-ish type of vibe and more of a, I want to say, an Atlanta vibe as well. And I think it's because of the production, definitely the lyrics, and the way that he actually went about that album.
But see, I'm not gonna say that's the problem because like I said, obviously it worked out better for him than it did anybody else.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
the problem is when you don't own your own shit, you know what I'm saying? You don't take honest to what you got going on at home.
right.
It's not gonna be appealing to those people that are at home. Like that's
Absolutely.
why I'm from North Carolina. That's why Little Brother don't get any love. And I
Yeah,
love Little Brother. That's my favorite rap group. You know what I'm
right.
saying? Like I didn't say the best. So I don't need nobody all in the comments. I said my favorite. That's my favorite rap group,
Yeah,
and they gets no love in North Carolina because it doesn't sound like North Carolina. It's not Southern. You know what I mean?
and that's Wayne. Like if you think about even Wayne taking Nicki Minaj and taking Drake, you know what I'm saying? Like those are the two biggest artists that he's brought to the forefront, right? Nicki's from New York, of course. Queens get the money. Drake is from Canada. You know what I mean? So, from New Orleans, the people that I talk to, that's from New Orleans, they're like, yo, although he has some rappers from Louisiana, New Orleans on that label that he hasn't really brought them to the forefront because even Tiger's from LA, right?
Hmm.
So he hasn't really catapult anyone else on that roster that's from around the way. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
but the reason is because
They
they stay true. They stay true to that
they
sound. And if you look at like somebody who's popping, he's popping on the underground era though. You look at Currency.
yeah,
Currency is very dope, and he gets a lot of love on the underground. And
right.
he did his thing with No Limit, then he did his thing with Wayne, but he would never pop just because he is who he is
He is
for
who
the
it is.
city of New Orleans. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I think that's a lot of people from the city of New Orleans. So I think when you talk about Cash Money and No Limit, New York look at it and be like, I don't want to hear that trash. But it's because they didn't give it a chance at first. If you
Right.
gave it a chance at first, because I'm not gonna front. When I first heard I was like, what? But
Yeah.
then when you start listening to what that motherfucker was saying, like you was like, oh,
I
that's you that got a charge. Huh? You can't keep this because you keep like whoa, this nigga is talking some shit, he talking some gangster shit. You know what I'm saying?
I still struggle with that. I ain't gonna front. Like to this day, I don't really care for her. Even when Jay got on it, I'm like, what is Jay doing? Like, why did he do that? And
Because that was horrible. That
I
was hard. When Jay got on it, that was horrible. I'm not.
it was. He shouldn't have got on that. That's some things you lay your hands off of, and he should have stayed away from it. But I never got into her. Now I never liked Bling Bling. I still don't like Bling Bling to this day. I don't like that song. I like that beat. Nothing about it.
Man,
Back that ass up. You got to like back that ass up, right? You
I don't
kind of
think you gotta like it. I think you like the reactions. Like it's one of them songs. Like if you having a tough time, it's like, all right, let me play back that ass up. You know
oh
what I'm saying? If you having a tough time at a gig and you can't get nobody on the dance floor, listen.
oh as a DJ
Back that ass. Oh yeah.
okay. I'm about to say I'm like no, right? Time I'm not man.
No. But yeah, if you having a tough time, man, play back that ass up. It's gonna
Yeah.
come good. You know what I'm saying?
Everybody, yeah, doom. That bass,
Yeah.
everybody running to the floor.
Nah, you don't even you let that shit, you loop that shit, the
Right.
doom, doom. You loop that shit so you can build the anticipation, man. Listen.
Get them enough time to get to the floor, right? Because you don't know where they're coming from. So you gotta get them enough time. Keep looping it till they get to the floor. But yeah, I get it. I get it. So let me
But
ask you this. What would you consider the most, I guess, influential song out of New Orleans? Because there's a lot of chant. I mean, there's a lot of anthems out of there. Bling Bling is one. Back That Ass Up is one. Make Them Say is one. What would you
I
be the
I
most?
think see that's a hard one to answer because I would say make them say because I feel like make them say is the reason that New Orleans is on the map music wise. But for me personally, I would have to say Huh is what gave Cash Money that $30 million deal. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? It was off the strength of Huh. And it was off the strength of Soldier Rag. That was Juvenile's first album. You know what I mean? Because what people don't know, when y'all hear the Cash Money No Limit beef, it's so much involved in that. It's not just Baby and P. It was the fact that Mystical, he went over from Big Truck, he went over to No Limit.
Right.
Mystical, there's a hard ass diss song by a group called UNLV.
Yep.
And the song is directed at Mystical. I'ma drag him in the river. You know what I'm saying? Drag him in the river and they say his name, Mr. Cole, use a hoe, Mr. Cole, use a hoe. That's like the chorus. You know what I'm
Yep.
saying? Like, I'ma drag him in the river, dump his body in Chuck Yard. Oh, he wants some. And that uses the Showboys, the Trigger Man, you know what I'm saying? That has that sample in it. But I you know, I gotta go with Han, man. Han is just something that really catapulted Cash Money. And so with it catapulting Cash Money, it made No Limit try to step their game up. I think they was just at a tough time because this is when P was kind of like saying, fuck rap. I ain't got time to be rapping. I'm trying out for the Charlotte Hornets. Then I'm
Right.
trying out for Toronto. I'm trying to make these movies. You know what I'm saying? So Han is the one for me personally. But as you stated, I definitely would say Make It Say is the one nationally and globally.
I think that Make It Say was a cherry on the top. I would have to almost say No Limit Soldier, because
Yeah, I can see that.
when No Limit Soldier came out, it was almost automatic. It was an automatic hit. You know what I mean? No Limit Soldier was that joint where if you was a square and you in a club, you don't get on the dance floor. You don't get nowhere close when that song come on. You go somewhere and hide. You know what I mean? Like, because when that song come on, something is going to happen. Something bad is going to happen, because it was that kind of song. It was that, when you hear that joint, you be like, okay, okay, the fake dudes just stand down right now, because you know it's about to be on. And when that song came on, I don't care who you were, where you were from. When that song came on, you had to respect the beat by itself. You had to respect the beat, because the beat was so hard. You know what I mean? The lyrics was, it was ABC, but it wasn't. It didn't have to be lyrical. It was straight to the point. You know what I'm saying? So I felt like Bout It, and No Limit Soldier, I think they're neck and neck. I think that Make 'Em Sing was like the cherry on top, because you had everybody saying, you bout it. You know what I'm saying? Everybody was
Mhm.
saying, you bout it, because it was like, that's how you start to fight. My nigga, you bout it. And then next thing you know, you start fighting. It didn't matter where you were from. So I think that I almost answered my own question. Do you think that P is the GOAT of the South?
Of the South, absolutely not. um, of the music game, I can see that because he was able to link up with Jay Prince, and he was able to hook up with Tony Draper. So he was able to take Suave House and Rap a Lot formula, and he
Yeah,
was able to multiply it on a national level. Suave House had 8 Ball, MJG. Anybody from the South gonna love those guys, but they wasn't getting no national love.
yeah,
Rap a Lot had Ghetto Boys. They was doing their thing on a national level due to the one song, My Mind Playing Tricks on Me or
yeah,
whatever. But outside of that, they really wasn't getting no national love.
yeah,
But they
yeah,
was putting out shit that was consistent to the South. You know what I mean? And
yeah,
then so P was able to capitalize on that. He was able to link up with those guys. He was able to take models from Tupac and Digital Underground, and he was able to evolve all that into basically what the music is today.
yeah.
Eventually, somebody was going to do it, but P was truly the pioneer in doing it.
Right,
You know
doing
what I
it.
mean? So I wouldn't say he's the goat of the South. His lyrics are, they're not there, but that's the great thing about New Orleans rap. It is about the lyrics because
Yeah,
they say some hard shit, but they say it in the simplest form.
right.
I remember when 50 first came out with Get Rich or Die Trying,
Yeah,
he was saying like, I didn't make these complicated choruses because I'm listening to what they saying down south, and they selling off simple shit. You know what I'm saying? So it doesn't always have to be complex to be dope. But I think for New Yorkers, no shot at you or y'all or whatever. I think y'all have to have dope lyrics at all time. It doesn't matter what is being said because they can say some shit and they just say it in the simplest form, and so y'all kind of just throw it away.
Right, and I think when you saying that, it takes me back to Goody Mob was on the Drink Champs recently. Very good interview, man. They've been dropping some jewels, man. Man, shout out to Nori first and foremost, man. Left Rack City, Corona Queens, man. I mean, Nori has been hitting it hard, man, with some good interviews, man. But Cujo and Gip made, they were saying how, when Stacks went on stage and made the comment, South had something to say, that a lot of people thought from the outside thought that he was just trying to shit on New York hip hop or whatever, but he was responding because of all the boos in the crowd when they went up on stage. And he said that they end up running into Method Man and some members of Wu-Tang a few months later at a concert. Not a concert. They were doing like a show or whatever in New York, and said Meth came to them and said, "Yo, don't feel bad because New York rejected us as well." And when he said that, I was like, I remember when a lot of Brooklyn people from Brooklyn, Queens, Bronx, the Barrels, they did not respect Wu-Tang at first. They were like, who are these corny dudes from Staten Island, rapping over some martial art beats? You know what I'm saying? Like they really shitted on Wu, you know what I mean? Because they thought that Staten Island had nothing to offer, because before Wu, Staten Island wasn't bringing out nothing. Only thing Staten Island was known for was stick-up kids and Italian mafias. You know what I'm saying? They had nothing about hip-hop about them. So then you have these lyrical giants come out of nowhere, and they weren't accepted first. So to your point, again, me being naive back in the day as well, not being able to appreciate, a Master P, although it's still not my thing, but I can appreciate it more now than I would back then, because back then it was very simple. And I was like, yeah, this ABC Cracker Jack shit, man, I want to listen to this. But, hindsight being 2020, it was some good music he was pumping out. It was a lot.
Like I try to tell people though, if you're willing to go past what was on the forefront. So like, even if you're talking about No Limit, what was on the forefront was P, Silk, C, Mystical. That was the forefront. If you go deeper into that, if you listen to Mia X, super dope lyrically. If you listen to Mac, super dope lyrically. Soulja Slim, I don't think he was super dope lyrically, but he had his moments. The problem is it was people like Silk the Shocker rapping off beat. Like I listened. If I listen now, I'd be like, why the fuck was I listening to Silk the Shocker? Like,
Silk was horrible.
Like, man. I know all his albums word for word, front to back, and I'll just be like, whoa, why? Yeah. Why was I doing this to myself? You know what I'm saying? But then,
he did it on purpose. He was rhyming off beat on purpose.
Yeah, I know. He said he actually went to do a feature with somebody, and they was like, nah, we want you to rhyme on beat like you do on your shit. You know what I'm saying? So it was just like, he was like, fuck it, that's his thing. But then, and I know there was some respect there amongst artists, because you had, you know what I'm saying, you had Nas jump on the track with P and Mac. It's not, when an artist like Nas jump on some shit, it's not all about money. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Or you had Big Pun jump on a track with Servo, Mr. Servo from No Limit. That's not about money. That's about mutual respect. You know what I'm saying? So it was there. It's just that it wasn't in the forefront, because that's not what the public wants to hear from No Limit. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Because it was different. It was something that, again, back then I was caught up into the minutia of in my opinion, the golden era of hip hop. You know what I'm saying? Because when P started coming around, Wu-Tang was in like at their biggest, right? You know what I mean? And to me, it was really hardly anything I could listen to over Wu-Tang at that time. And that's just me. And I'm speaking on behalf of others that may have been like that as well, because I knew a lot of guys, a lot of people that would not even give that no play back then, because we were so caught up into the Wu, Mobb Deep, Nas, Jay, Big era. You know what I'm saying? Where Master P was cranking out CDs every single week. I think that they say one year he had, what was it, like 28 albums that he dropped? 27 or 28 he dropped in one year?
Yeah, it was over 30, but it was like 27 of them at least got a gold plaque.
Yeah, like that is, but now you would never see that again. First
No,
of all,
definitely
you
not.
would never see that again. But it dropped that much material. I knew guys who were like really in the trap who was buying those albums every time they dropped. Like they had
Yeah.
every single one of them, and I used to hear them by being around them. I'm like, yo, that shit is hard. But I mean, it's different. It's hard.
Oh yeah. I remember because this is when albums came out on Tuesdays. So Tuesdays after school, we definitely was riding up to Cats or Manifest discs
Yeah,
and tapes, and we was looking. You
yeah,
know what I'm saying?
yeah. Every
So yeah, and then when you think about New Orleans, they don't get the I ain't gonna say they don't get the love because they get an extreme amount of love, even
yeah,
though they're not from New Orleans. Most people would category as because Louisiana is just one entity in most people's minds. But Boosie and Webby, man, Boosie, like I mean, people just don't understand. Like when Boosie said, "Hey, the fuck Jay-Z talking about? He don't run shit down here. We still gonna put our money to our ear."
yeah,
Let me tell you something. He carries 10 times more weight than
yeah.
fucking he carries 10 times more weight than Jay Z does down south.
Oh,
Like,
facts. You know, when Boosie
whoa, whoa, Ingrid.
hey, get him. Yo, when Boosie said that, man, I was like, I know Stacks probably was like, yo, what is he doing? Yo, Stack love JC, man. But when he said that, Jay didn't say anything. And
Yeah, because he know.
Boosie like tell Jay-Z I said it. You know what I mean? So Boosie don't care, man. Like again, he is another artist that it took time for me to appreciate. Like when I was down there, man, and my wiz Ingrid, she know this, like, cause she worked in Baton Rouge. We lived on the outskirt of Baton Rouge, but she actually worked in Baton Rouge. And they would go crazy over Boosie, man. They used to tell her stories about Boosie, cause they knew Boosie. they like he's like a cousin to them, and they would tell her stories about Boosie. She'll come home and tell me these stories like, yo, they were talking about Boosie. I'm like, yo, it's for real. And they're like, yo, Boosie. I didn't want to say what they were telling her because allegedly,
Yeah,
some
yeah,
things, like,
yeah.
so I'm like, yo, it is crazy. So he
Of
said, why
course,
would
Stacks is in the comments, of
yeah, what's
course.
that? Why would Jay-Z respond to Boosie? Why wouldn't he? This is Boosie, man. Like Boosie has a legit following. He has like my homeboy, Welch, my homeboy Tony Welch, man. He's from Alexandria, Louisiana, which is about maybe a 2-hour drive to Baton Rouge. And he's more into that, like that Boosie, than he is into New Orleans because Louisiana is really chopped up into pieces. So when you hear Boosie music and Webby, those guys, it sounds totally different than what you hear in New Orleans and in the wards. It's totally different music, and they're separated by the bridge. You know what I mean?
It's missing that bounce and trigger man.
Right, right. The further you go north of Louisiana, the more you get away from the bounce music. You know what I mean? And Boosie, and Baton Rouge culture is ridiculous. Like you think, yo, go to Baton Rouge to sip up if you want and see what happens. Like, yo, you come up
See, the Stacks Brown family, I don't know what they're not listening to what I'm saying. Lyrically and money wise, he is. But what I am telling you all, Jay-Z has not an ounce of influence below the Mason Dixon line that compares to what Bootsy has.
not at all. Not at
And
all.
and that's even our age. Like I'm not trying to turn up. I'm not, what I'm saying? I'm not in the club. Listen, if you play Boosie in the club, it's like it was back in the day when they played Fuck Them Other Niggas, Down for My Niggas, or when they played No Limit Soldiers. Like, and that's with all Boosie songs. Boosie got a song saying, I'm smoking on that purple, trying to ease my mind. That makes motherfuckers want to fight just because it's Boosie. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
His
Because
influence is just far greater than Jay.
his influence, Boosie has like a cult following down there. You know what I mean? And I don't want to undersell it. It's just that Boosie down there is different because he's still down there. He's true to he's true to who he is. You know what I mean? Boosie is not Hollywood. He is what he's going to say what he's going to say, and it's just that he's unapologetic, and that's who they are. He represents what Baton Rouge is. He represents exactly who they are, and they know that and they love that. And he was able to really do some real stuff. You know what I mean? So just because of that, because he's authentic, they rock with him very hard. Not saying that Jay is, Boosie and Jay on the same level lyrically or musically or anything like that, but influence-wise, I would put Boosie in the same boat as you would put Guwap in Georgia. You know what I mean? Because Boosie give back a lot to Baton Rouge that you don't see every single day. Like you don't see the things that he's done for Baton Rouge. You know what I mean? Just like Guwap, people don't know that how he was able to curate a wave of music out of Georgia. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. You put Boosie in a battle with, and I'm just throwing a name out there, you put Boosie in a battle with Juvenile or something like that, Boosie will probably get that because Boosie, that Drake, Boosie would Boosie, yo fam, Boosie would get that. And again, he would get it off the strength of the same way Guwap will get the strength off of Jeezy because of the reach back that he has, not just for Baton Rouge, but for Louisiana in general. He's not there. You know what I mean?
And there's another guy out of Baton Rouge. I don't like him at all, but I won't deny that everyone else do love him. I don't listen to any of his songs. I've heard one song, and it was enough for me to say never again, and that's Kevin Gates.
Kevin Gates, yeah.
And I could, people tell me I'm wrong when we have this discussion. They're like, "Oh, you don't like Gates? Like what, Gates?" But the very first song I heard from Kevin Gates was a song called "Supposed to Be in Love," where he's talking about he finna beat his bitch, like she better not say nothing. I'm gonna do it. And her brother come in, he can get it too. He better not say something. This between me and her. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And then a few months later, after I heard that song, I'm all totally against domestic violence. So a couple months after I heard the song, he actually field goal kicked a goddamn chick in her mouth. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I was just like, I can't rock with him. So I've never listened to anything by Kevin Gates.
Gates kind of he out there. He's different. He's different. Let me ask you this though, man. Like, who do you think? Like, okay, so you got we talked about New Orleans. We talked about the Baton Rouge influence. I don't think there's much music that comes from further north of Louisiana. I don't think it's that. Yeah, in fact, I'm not a big fan of Kevin Gates as well. He's weird, man. He's a weird guy. He got some weird lyrics out there. He does some weird things as well. But do you think? How long do you think New Orleans had the game on Smash? Because every region that we discussed so far, they had a particular era, right? You had the New York era, you had the West Coast era. We said the West Coast era probably one of the shortest runs. How long would you give New Orleans, or would you give Louisiana in general?
Nationally, I can't answer that question. So something that I did find out just growing up and then moving away from the Carolinas is the things that we thought the nation was listening to, that's not the case.
Right.
So we thought the nation was listening to No Limit. So I don't know when the nation actually got on No Limit, but I know from 96 to about 2003, 2004, I'll say 2003, there was nothing, you could not, go anywhere and not hear some type of Louisiana artist. That didn't mean that they had it necessarily on Smash. It wasn't a lot like it was New York had or Stronghold that that Atlanta has, or even the short run that the West Coast had. It's not the same, right, but it was a consistent run from that time period where they would not be denied. You know what I mean?
Do you think that's more so from, because to your point, I think No Limit had it for a couple of years. I think they had it on Smash. Maybe I would give No Limit like 2 or 3 years when they had it on Smash, because I think the build up was really slow. I think when they hit, they really hit, and I think that's when you got make them say. I think that's what their peak to me. that was when they actually peaked. But it wasn't that long still, right? Because remember, I think P kind of revamped himself a lot of times. You know what I mean? 504 Boys, True. You know, they had so many different things going on. Then Cash Money came. And I think Cash Money had it on lock for probably, I would say two. It's really hard to, I guess I'm struggling with giving them a particular era because everyone else ate in their era, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and that's why I said the same thing. But Cash Money definitely had it from, I would say, '98 when Juvenile's first album came out, 400 Degrees, and I would say up until right before Wayne made an album called 600 Degrees. I would say right before that. Oh, yeah, 500 Degrees. 600 Degrees was the song Juvie put on after that. My bad. 500 Degrees. So when he made 500 Degrees, right before that album, I would say that's when they started really waning off. And that was just because everybody was leaving. The thing that's so great about Cash Money's run is they did it essentially with 6 artists. And 2 of those you really don't even count as artists. So essentially they did it with 4 artists where they was just running that part of the game. With the Hot Boys, you know, it was just Juve, Turk, BG, and Wayne, with the big timer stepping in every now and again.
But I guess I'm struggling because even in, you said 98 with Juvie, right? 98 was a heavy year for hip hop. And New Orleans definitely, to me, wasn't in the top bracket during that time. You know what I mean? Because 98 was huge. 98 was like really, I want to say close, probably the last year that we had something that major in hip hop. Of that, you know, artists coming out that year.
But yeah, that's why I say I can't really speak on it because we are oblivious to what's going on. You know what I'm saying? Because we think like I didn't know Bojangles wasn't everywhere. You know what I'm saying? Like
oh man.
Because everywhere I went, you know, throughout the South, there was a Bojangles. So I didn't know that, hey, I was going to get older and be living out in Colorado or now Texas and there's no Bojangles, you know what I'm saying? Or living in Washington State, there's no Bojangles, you know what I mean?
But that's how it was with me. Like I didn't know Popeyes existed until I got really to Japan on base at Popeyes. You know what I mean? Like, oh, this shit is delicious. Like, you know what I mean? So, but you know, I guess to my benefit, you know, by 98, I was already getting out of boot camp. I was, you know, going through boot camp. So I was able to connect with those from different, you know, states and different regions where we would talk about hip hop in boot camp on our spare time or when we had time. And no, they talked about New Orleans rap because I had a few people that was in my platoon that was from New Orleans or Louisiana, period. They talked about it, but at that time, Wu still reigned because, you know, Wu-Tang Forever just came out 97, you know what I'm saying? And, you know, 98 was big because X came, you know what I mean? X kind of had that era. X kind of had 98, 99, 2000.
And I understand that.
Came in the middle of that. And again, this is during the time when I traveled from, you know, South Cat to North Cat to Japan. I was in VA. I was traveling a lot those 3 years when hip hop was kind of like shifting a lot. Because when I came out of boot camp, that's when I ended up getting all those CDs. And that was during the time Jay started taking off too, because Hard Knock Life came out in 98. So I asked that question because every time we have a city series, I always want to understand from your perspective as well, more so from your perspective, when did that city had the era on lock? Like when did it truly had a true run? You know what I mean?
Yeah, so in the South, when we do Southern cities, it's always going to be different, with the exception. I'm trying to think of a way that we can kick Rebecca out. Like I can't deal with her no more, man. Like the blatant disrespect is just, you know, I told y'all she likes Sylvia's. Anybody ever been to Sylvia's in Harlem? Y'all know that is the worst soul food ever. But anyway, yeah, it really is. But anyway, for the South, No Limit had it on lock. Cash Money had it on lock. Now, but it was also a time where we was always wanting different flavors. You know what I'm saying? So we wanted the Goody Mob soulful shit. You know what I'm saying? But then we wanted to turn up. Like we didn't want to just hear. Well, you know, I think that's the difference between the southern region and East Coast. Like we want to turn up, and we want to be in deep thought sometimes. You know what I'm saying? Because if you listen to Goody Mob, you're in deep thought. If you listen to Outkast, you're in deep thought. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But we also wanted to turn the fuck up. That's why Outkast and Goody Mob still had those songs. They don't dance no more. They don't dance. You know what I'm saying? They still had to make something because in the South, like we want to get it. You know what I'm saying? We want to have some fun. And so No Limit had it on lock. Most definitely, I would say 95. I would say 95. They, when Ice Cream Man really first popped, they had it, up until about 98 when Cash Money came.
Right.
Cash Money came and they just destroyed it in the South. It was all about the Hot Boys, BG, it's all on you, volume 1 and volume 2, Checkmate, um, Cash Money is an army, better yet a navy. Like, you know what I'm saying? It was the simplistic shit that we love or whatever, and it was the way that they were saying they shit. Like they were saying, yo, we finna go ball out. Niggas talking about yo, I'm finna go buy the Saints. Like, and we believed him. We
Right.
believe he was finna go buy the Saints, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
So
Right.
they had those runs.
They influence a lot of things. I mean, they influence rims. Like honestly, like think about why you got some rims on your car. I mean, you probably got different reasons, but I end up getting rims on the SUV because Lil Wayne said I'm up in the Expedition. They be like, oh no, you didn't. You know what I mean? I didn't have Expedition. I didn't have Expedition money at that time. I was like a corporal, so I had a Mountaineer. You know what I mean? But I put some 20s on that thing. You know what I'm saying?
This boy had a Mercury on 20s.
Yo,
Hey, like Ball of G. If you ain't got 22s on your ride, your ride ain't hitting.
Yo, I had 20 Blades when 20s had just came out. You know what I mean? On a Mercury Mountaineer, that joint was sitting right. You know what I
This
mean?
boy
So
had Blades on a Mountaineer.
on that mud. But they influenced a lot of that because they were talking about that flashy stuff. You know what I'm saying? So I guess, the whole thing around, like, even if you go back and you listen to Pastor Troy when he was dissing on P, at one point, you know what I'm saying? Like, and I remember my man's, he was from New Orleans, I think from the 7th Ward or whatever. And he said, yo, man, trust me. Pastor Troy and them boys in Georgia, they don't want this. Like he said, he was like, trust me, they would not survive this. Like there are really killers in New Orleans who are crazy. Like they don't think about it. Death to them is nothing. Like he don't really want that. So they had to. I knew this guy. He was in the music business as well. But he was like, man, they're gonna have to get him a pass, not a pass that Mark be talking about. People get a pass to Philly. Like he would definitely have to get a pass. He would not be able to perform in New Orleans unless he made things right. And that was true. You know what I mean?
I think that's the other thing. I don't know why. Well, I do know why. Because like I told you when we talked about the West Coast, I talked about how the visuals is what really helped the West Coast pop. And what I meant by that, remember I said Boys in the Hood and Menace to Society, South Central. That is what made us fear the West Coast because we was able to see what they was talking about and hear it in their music. When you listen to, they got songs where they're talking about do the Murder Man dance. They tapping at your feet first. Now you got to die, and then they had a thing called the 30-day murder. And I didn't believe this until I got real live visuals. After Katrina, they start talking about how the murder rate in Houston went up, and it was because of the cats from New Orleans. And they was just like, all right, I'm gonna just sit here do my 30 days. Y'all ain't got nothing. Y'all gotta let me go. And they was like, nah, player, this ain't New Orleans. Ain't no 30-day murder here. Like you gonna sit here until we figure out what's happening.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Like Rebecca, I did not have spinning rims. Let me just throw that out there. I wanted spinning rims, I could not afford them at that time. I was only a corporal. I was making corporal money, so I did not have spinning rims. I had blades. That was it. But anyhow, you're right. Like New Orleans and Baton Rouge, like the Baton Rouge murder rate was higher. I think it was twice as high as New Orleans. I was in a hotel in Baton Rouge. You know what I mean? And I was like, yo, on the news. Where I was on off of Seagan Lane in Baton Rouge, right? And you would hear like the news channel telling you there's a murder just happened again. You can hear helicopters outside the room. Like it's a war down there. And when we moved down there, it was like in 2000, I think 15, we moved down there. And again, the effects of Katrina was still happening. Even when I was on recruiting duty, and I had an office in Orangeburg, South Cat. They had a lot of transplants from New Orleans in Orangeburg. and they were getting busy down there. Like everywhere that these guys were relocated in America, they
They
were
were getting
causing
busy.
they was causing
Yeah.
issues. You know what I mean? So they were really getting busy. And one of the guys down there said that New Orleans got better when a lot of those transplants from New Orleans went every place else
Mm-hmm.
because they were, you know, kind of going other places, starting the trouble. So to your point, you see the visuals of Menace to Society, Boys in the Hood, etc. And then you watch a movie like About It, and you start seeing other visuals of how things get down in New Orleans. You're like, yo, I gotta move different out here. I gotta move carefully out here because these guys get busy. Like
Yeah.
they're country, but they get busy.
Yeah, it took those, American gangster type documentaries to come out to really sh- show you what New Orleans was about, because they wasn't no storyteller rappers, you know what I mean? So they couldn't tell the story. They just telling you, yo, we roll up, we got choppers on our goddamn lap, say something and we gonna get out and plow. You know what I'm saying? Like, you like, all right, everybody say that shit. But then when you hear them say shit like, oh, I'm in the hallways and cuts, and then you watch a documentary and they talk about the Cut Boys and how this one, I forgot his name, looks like Cut Boy, I don't know, Tommy or some shit like that. Like,
Yeah.
he was one of the coldest killer in New Orleans. Like, he would just walk up to people and he would just murk you right there,
Right.
and he would go back to his cut. You know what I'm saying? So you would have to go and look about what they call it, the hallways and cuts. It was the place where the police wouldn't even go. I
Right.
took a criminal justice class, man, and the professor, he was from New Orleans. He was a former New Orleans police officer. He said, as a police officer, they would not patrol the Calliope projects at
Absolutely
night.
not.
They would let them do their thing
Yeah.
unless it was a murder and everybody was coming to converge on New Orleans. I mean, on that project, they would let them do their thing. And I think they called it like the B.W. Washington projects, but whatever reason they called it the Calliope. And it was just that bad. But we could hear it, but because we couldn't see it, it wasn't believable.
Right, and that's what I'm saying. Like again, how all of that ties into the whole hip hop and the city series is, you know, we always talk, we be messing with Mark and everything about, you know, hey, you can't go to Philly if you don't check in with certain folks. Man, that's every city got stuff like
Yeah,
that.
facts.
You know what I mean? Like again, when I was down there, if you don't know how to move right, you could get clipped. Like there was nights when I was like, yo, I got to get the fuck up out of here. Like my own rental car got towed downtown New Orleans. I had to walk through the graveyard to find a tow shop. I'm sitting there like trembling, like, you know what I mean? Like, yo, I'm on my own right now. I'm looking at my GPS on my phone trying to get to the shop, and it's under the bridge. You know what I mean? So, and you hear this in raps. You hear about the chop shops under the bridge. You hear about how gully these guys are from the bayou who talk with that New Orleans draw. They under the bridge, and you see that stuff. You thinking in your mind like, yo, I don't got no hammer on me. I don't got anything on me. I'm just like naked out here. You know what I'm saying?
Man, the New Orleans is the first city where I actually had my hand on my gun. Like, I'm like that scared. Like, we was in New Orleans, man, and I'm with one of my exes, and so it's supposed to be like a feel good time because we down there for Essence Fest,
Yeah.
and so but I'm stunting a little bit, just a little bit, because I had a Suburban with a 42-inch TV in it. Of course, you don't turn the TV on. You don't want to be stupid. You know what I'm saying? So, but I got the beat back there.
Right.
Man, let me tell you, I don't know what street. I want to say Canal. It was one of the main roads by Bourbon Street. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Made that turn. Some young boys and like a newer model Lexus. Motherfuckers just like skirt in front of me, right?
Yeah.
Like, I'm like, what the fuck? And then so he let his trunk up. So now I'm like real scared. This motherfucker just wanted to show that he had like a 36-inch TV or some shit back there playing. He bumping the hot boards. They hanging out showing goals and shit. I'm like, man, what the fuck?
That's what they do down there, man. And all you can do is take it. All you can do is take it in. Like,
yeah. You don't get disrespectful in nobody else's city alone.
like, okay, Wody. Yeah, I mean, you talking like, all right, Wody.
So
you know what I mean? So,
they really are. I'm not saying that the artists are, but they really were living what they were spitting in the raps. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. And most of the artists were, Drake. I mean, because you think about some of the tragedies that you and I talk about offline, about some of the artists that was killed in New Orleans. I mean, I would tell you Magnolia Shorty. I mean, she got ambushed in New Orleans. You know what I mean? She got ambushed the day that she was about to fly out to do a show, you know, in a different city, and they ambushed her. You know what I mean? And I said her. I mean, they ambushed the female out there like
Yeah.
it's nothing. You know what I mean?
Soldier Slim was killed on his mother's front yard.
Yeah.
You got Mac. He's, you know, I tell y'all that's my favorite New Orleans rapper. He's doing time, life in prison for murder. You got C Murder. He's still doing life in prison for murder. You got BG's just came out because he refused to tell. He did like 20 years. You got what's his name? Turk just got out because he shot some police officers in a raid. You know, like, so you're right. The artists, and I will say this: there is not, you know, you hear people talk about how they sold dope, they did this, or whatever the case may be. There's one artist that everybody from that city has always saying, no, he really about that shit, and that is Baby. Like.
Yeah.
The shit that I've heard about Baby and Slim, like, nah, bruh. So that's why when I see stuff like that time, there's a video where some Crips in LA supposedly surrounded Baby and Wayne and Slim. You couldn't see them because it was dark tit. And you know, they like, get the fuck up out of here. And they knocking on the windows. I'm like, I don't know if I believe that. Now I know how Cali get down. But I don't know if I believe that, because though I do know for a fact that those two are not no suckers.
Yeah. I mean, again, I've been down there, so stories I've heard, man, from people who grew up with those guys and knew all those guys down there, and they were like, "Yo, man, these guys get busy. Like, don't get it twisted. Don't think for a second that you can talk slick to any of those guys down there, because they are, you know, Masterpiece said it himself, like that Cali Project and all the wars down there, like." My wife used to have been like nervous when I had to go down there for investigations and do anything. She was like, yo, just be careful when you go down there, because those wars, man, it's like, yo, you go in there, it is a war zone, because that's all they know. A lot of them, they don't get all, it's like places in New York where I knew guys that were from Brooklyn or from even Manhattan. They never left the island. They never, Queens, never been any place else. You know, and that's how, like, in other places, like in North Carolina, I knew guys who never left, like Ruff. He never left that corner of North Carolina that he's from. You know what I'm saying?
That's fucked up.
They've been to Charlotte, right? So it's just no different than down there. Those guys, they never left the bottom, because it's literally in the bottom. So you have to come up out of New Orleans to get up on the bridge, to get on higher ground as you go towards Baton Rouge. You dig? So everything is like literally down there in the. That's why when the levees broke, it flooded the whole place because of the sea level. So, you know, those guys, they don't come up out of there, man. So that's all they know. You know what I mean? So they write what they live, and they live what they write, without a doubt.
Well, yeah, man. Well, it was a good show tonight, man. We're going to go ahead and wrap it up. Before we do that, I just want everybody to know, yo, appreciate you all for tuning in. Appreciate all the love and the comments. That is disturbing.
Ingrid, no, she been like working on there since she knew.
Tonight, you know, was a good. We kept it down south. We going down south again next week. We going to H-Town. Another one of my favorites. You know what I'm saying? We're gonna talk about some Screw, the influences of Screw and Lean, and of course the great UGK and Pimp C. You know what I'm saying? Smoke some bitch. So we're gonna talk about all that next week. We thank you all for tuning in. Remember, everything that you see on the bottom, you can go and check us out on all those social media platforms. Tomorrow we have the Merv and Stack show with the homegirl Tina B and the homie Mark. They're going to be talking about the Power series season finale, Power Book 2. I'm not a fan of it. Fuck Power. But they always got an interesting take on it. So make sure you tune in. And then Wednesday we come on, we form like Voltron, baby.
I do got one thing on the rest in peace to, you know, MF Doom.
MF Doom.
Yeah, man. I mean, for anyone who knows hip hop and love hip hop, MF Doom was like he's like your underground rapper's favorite rapper. You know what I mean? Never wanted to get, you know, on a big, you know, big stage of hip hop. He stuck to himself, stuck true to who he was as an underground artist. First heard him on Gas Face. I mean, and from there he just, you know, did his thing, kept doing his thing. Has some dope lyrics, dope beats, just really underground, true gritty rapper, man. Passed away October 31st. How fitting for a rapper who always wear a mask, right? To pass away on Halloween. They don't think they released the information to January 31st. I'm sorry, December 31st, rather, 2 months later, that he actually passed away. He was always like an enigma in the hip hop game. Very well respected. So rest in peace for that brother. Really just condolences to his family and those who were really close to him. But we lost a legend at the age of 49. They still haven't said where he died from, and that's neither here nor there. But God rest his soul, man.
All right, that's it, bro. We out of here.
Yes, sir. Peace out.